Thank you very much for being with us today, folks. I really appreciate you being here. We're going to talk about our Operation Fall Hall 2, our human trafficking operation. Now, at the conclusion of that, we've had an event just occur at the state level, and the Secretary of the Department of Corrections has asked me to make a statement about that, so there'll be a separate topic after this human trafficking operation press release is complete. But I'm joined here today by our team members. To be ultimately successful as we have been in this operation, we simply can't do it by ourselves. It takes the police agencies and our colleagues from social services to be able to do a complete human trafficking operation, because what we're after today and every day that we do one of these operations is to find the victims of human trafficking. To do that, you have to cast a wide net, and that's what we did. We were joined by the Haines City Police Department, and Chief Greg Gork is here today with us. The Lake Wells Police Department is represented here today. The Davenport Police Department and Interim Chief Bill Schrader is with us. The Bartow Police Department in Campton, Michelle Smith is with us. The Winter Haven Police Department is represented by Lieutenant Derek Blanton. Of course, we have the State Attorney's Office with Jennifer Ordonez, and I can't say enough great things about Brian Haas, our State Attorney, and his prosecutors, because none of this would be possible without the cooperation of and the support of the State Attorney's Office. But what's really important to us is not just that we have a police operation, because we had a successful police operation, but we're trying to identify the victims of human trafficking. And when we do, from the moment they come into the operation, we want to immediately hand them off to our social services friends and our counselors so that they can begin working with these victims of human trafficking. These are some of the most difficult victims to work with. We know there are a lot more of them that admitted, but as you can see, that we have fuzzed out the faces of several that have admitted or either we suspect. And then there's one that we had to tape over this morning that was in the county jail who just this morning admitted to us, okay, I am a victim of human trafficking, I would like services. So our goal is to start these services the moment that they're taken into custody, and then to treat them as what they are, victims, not suspects of criminal events. I might point out, if others of these prostitutes come forward later as victims, there's specific law in the state of Florida that's really terrific that causes us to go in and eliminate all evidence of an arrest, photographs, reports, court actions, and they're treated as a victim. And it's important to understand that if there were no Johns, if there were no customers, there would be no prostitutes, and there would be no human trafficking. But folks, the overwhelming majority of these ladies are or have been in the past taken advantage of. You know, they used to call them, oh, he's the one who provides for me. He's the one that gives me a ride. But what we've found is many times that, in fact, this person is trafficking this lady. He's making a profit off of her. He is controlling her very life. As I said, some of these victims are hardcore because they've learned that these traffickers control their very life, what they wear, where they live, their drugs, their food, their entire life. We've got to break all that down. So having services on site to deal with this is very important. So we made 160 arrests in only 7 days. 160 arrests. That was 86 prostitutes, 65 Johns, and then there were 9 others, 2 of which I'm going to talk about briefly, that were caught up. We charged during this operation 52 additional felonies, 216 misdemeanors. But of this group of folks that we see here today, they had already amassed collectively 419, I want to say 1,000, but it's 419 previous felonies. You would think I'd learn to read this, okay? There's not zeros at the end of it. 419 previous felonies, 619 previous misdemeanors. So many of these people were already well known to the criminal justice system. Only 16 of the 160 were from Polk County. I think the people of Polk County are about to get the message that if you come here and violate the law, we're going to put you in jail, and Brian Haas and his prosecutors are going to prosecute you. So we're pleased that it was only 16 of 160. Central Florida needs to catch a clue. If you come here to commit crime, you're coming here to go to our jail. But in addition to that, we have 3 of the men that are here for deriving proceeds. We suspect they're human traffickers. We don't have enough evidence to charge them with that at this time. They're still under investigation. But as we start with our folks that we're going to show you today, our cards, I want to start with a blank card. I want to talk about this lady because we must educate the community to understand that many of these ladies that are victims have had a really tough life. And we're trying to break the cycle. This particular lady was the victim. She walked into our undercover operation. She was 10 weeks pregnant. She said she had been taking drugs, and specifically fentanyl, and hoping and praying that naturally she could abort the baby. She didn't want the baby. It was an unwanted pregnancy. That's some of the sadness that we see. She also received a text while she was in our custody from someone that said, quote, "Just promise me you'll be careful. Get out of that place because that is Polk County. Get out fast." Well, it's too late. She was already in custody. But that was a good thing because we have identified her as a victim, and if she'll accept the services of these wonderful ladies that's behind us, we can make a positive difference in her life. She's from Fern Park, Florida, and that's over near Seminole County. Now, as you know, this is Deputy Police Chief Jason Deprima. We talked about him earlier this week because it had leaked out to the media, and they showed significant interest because he's the Deputy Chief of Police in Cartersville, Georgia, where he managed to embarrass his organization, himself, and his family. And this is what he looks like when he's under arrest. We talked about him last week. I won't talk anymore today other than to tell you that he resigned from the police department. He is no longer a police officer in Cartersville, Georgia, and he needs to work on reconstructing his life with his family. He did a very mean, nasty thing to his family, and he certainly embarrassed all the people of Cartersville. I think it's important that I underscore that the Cartersville Police Department is a very professional police department in Georgia, and they didn't deserve what Jason did, and he lost his career over it. He has resigned. So with that, it must have been Government Day or Government Week at Fall Hall 2, because Jason was not the only person in law enforcement to get arrested. This is Keith Nieves. He's 24. He's a state corrections officer. He works for Lake Corrections, Lake CI. He's been there 2 years. He came there on a late night. He lives in Orlando, and he wanted to engage in consensual sex with a prostitute who turned out to be an undercover law enforcement officer. Now think about this. This guy is in charge of people who or in prison for violating the law, he comes and he violates the law. So birds of a feather flock together, and he's in the jail as a jailbird, like those jailbirds he watches. Then there's Cameron Burke. Cameron Burke was a computer technician. Formerly, okay, let me underscore formerly, he was at Oak Ridge High School. He's 41 years of age. Oak Ridge High School is in Ocoee or Orange County, Florida. Interestingly enough, listen to me, you can't make this stuff up. He was out on bond from having sex with a student, a mere child. Yes, that's right. He had sex multiple times with this child at school, in his office. He was arrested in March of this year. So he's bonded out. He's got some hugely serious criminal charges pending against him in Orange County. And guess what? How much of a difference did that make? Not a lot. He's on dating websites, and he comes to the undercover op saying, I want to engage in sex with 2 women for $200. Well, when we arrested him, then he becomes an emotional wreck. Oh, I can't do this. I'm out on charges. Well, dude, why didn't you think of that ahead of time? Of course, you only had 3 brain cells. He didn't care until he was caught, and then it was serious. Well, what about that little girl you sexually battered at school in your office where you were a computer tech? So in any event, he's arrested again, and we certainly hope that there is a Parker v. State so that he stays locked up. He's a dangerous person to children, to the community, when he's not locked up. Well, you know, teachers sometimes have to be taught a lesson. There you go. There's your teacher, Carlos Gonzalez. He's 36. He teaches at New Dimensions High School in Osceola County. He teaches math. And he came for 1 hour with 2 ladies, and he was willing to pay $200. But he obviously didn't think through this very well. I don't know how well he does math, how well he teaches math, but, you know, 1 trip to a prostitute house ends up 1 trip to the county jail. 1 and 1 is 2, and he got to 2. He said he was not going to have sex when we talked to him. He just came there to give the undercovers the money. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? He just, out of the warmth of his heart, wanted to talk trash to 2 prostitutes online and show up to give them money. And then he was going to leave. He did leave. He left in the back of a van and went to the county jail. Oh, he was from Davenport, from Polk County. He should have known better. He knows better now. Guess who this guy is? School teacher. Got us another one. Yep, John Layton. He's 26. He was a teacher at West Orange High School in Orange County. When he showed up, I just love this. You want to go, what are you thinking, man? What are you thinking? Well, you're not thinking. He was wearing the high school track shirt. I didn't stutter. He was wearing the high school track shirt. And he came there and he wanted sex for $40. And he saw our undercover agent and said, wow, 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 I'll take $100 worth of that. Well, what he got was $100 worth of a trip to the county jail. So he's in jail. Maybe he and the math teacher can talk about, how did you get here? Well, 1 and 1 added up to 2. He said, well, you know, I'm a track coach. I sprinted my way to jail. I don't know what they'll talk about, but they had an opportunity. Not only that, are you ready for this? Then he asked the detectives, how long is this going to take? He said, you know, I got track practice in the morning. No, the students have track practice in the morning. You've got jail practice in the morning. You're not going to any practice. Well, that was the end of our government, folks, for the time being. But then we had a male prostitute show up, okay? This guy's name is David Morton, and boy, did he show up. This guy was naked when he walked in the door. He was not buck naked. To be buck naked, you can't even be wearing your socks. But you see, he was wearing a shirt, but that was all. So he boldly walked in to the undercover operation, and that's right, had nothing on from the waist down, but apparently he had him a little towel, so when he was outside, you know, they could see the cheeks of his butt, but he was protecting the other area. But as soon as he hit that front door, boom, away the towel went. So guess what? He went to jail. And he is just a bad guy. He's from Orlando, Florida, too. And then there was John Glass. John Glass is 61 years of age. He's from Verona, Kentucky. But he has a vacation home in Kissimmee. His wife was in Kissimmee at the vacation home when he eased away and showed up at our undercover operation. You know, I don't know if he showed up on time or not, you know, like his pizzas, because he owns Domino's pizza franchises in Kentucky. You know, you order what you want on the pizza. Well, he ordered what he wanted, and then he arrived, they told me, on time. So I guess his training of delivering pizzas or having his staff deliver pizzas on time, he transferred that over to us. But listen, we didn't give him any pizza. We don't serve any pizza at the jail, but certainly he felt like he had gone through a pizza oven by the time he had gotten arrested, got to go to jail. But he was an honest sort of Domino pizza franchise owner. He said, well, I've done this 4 times in the past. Well, have you discussed this with your wife? Did you get her permission? Did she say, go, boy, go? Apparently not. So he told her, he says, I'm paying for an hour of sex, but I think 15 minutes is all I'll need. He's just going to give her a tip, I guess, kind of like the pizza delivery guy. What else can you say? This is Guillermo Perez. He's 57. Now, where would we be with an undercover operation and no Disney employees? Oh, yes, we always have Disney employees. He's a bellhop at the Coronado Springs Resort on Disney. He's from Winter Garden. He confessed, and he said, you caught me. Well, he wasn't by himself. This guy is an independent photographer. He does not work for Disney, but he's contracted by Disney. He came there not to take photographs, but to engage a lady of the evening. But he's a nice guy. He brought sour Skittles for the undercover. He's from Orlando. He's from Winter Garden. Maybe when they get out of jail, they could like Uber back to Orange County together, you think? So here's Shanice Blake. I want to make it abundantly clear she did not come there to have sex, even though she went on this website, but she showed up with, you're not going to believe this, a pound of marijuana to sell. That's right, $1,900, she sold a pound of marijuana. So who drove her there? Her boyfriend, Curvins Felix, he's 29. What did they bring beside a pound of marijuana? Their 2-year-old baby. No car seat, not secured, but a 2-year-old baby. Brought a 2-year-old baby with them. That's not cool. So both of them went to jail. The 2-year-old baby was recovered and is on the way back to the family. Then there's Ariel Palmore. She really likes our undercover operations. She loves visiting with us at our operations. In fact, she loves us so much, she showed up in our March Sadness arrest earlier this year. And then she came back for our fall haul too. We look forward to seeing her again in our next operation because she's kind of gotten used to being arrested by us if she's out of jail. But when we look back at her felony charges, okay, she says she's in cosmetology. But in 2009, she was charged with murder. It was dropped to robbery with a firearm. She got 1 year and a month and 6 years probation. Man, that Orange County is a place you ought to be if you want to commit crime. Don't come to Polk County because we're going to lock you up for like ever for being involved. But they pled her down. Well, she did so well with 1 year and a day and 6 years probation. In 2021, she was charged with murder or homicide again. And that charge was dropped or abandoned in Orange County. She's doing all right. She somehow was allegedly involved in 2 murders, and she's still out coming to our operations where she's been arrested twice. She has a very, very violent history. But we appreciate her coming to our operations and behaving. She's a perfect lady when we arrest her. She's from Orlando. Our next one, where would we be without an alleged gang member? That's right, he says he's a member of a gang. He's from St. Cloud over in Osceola County. He said he was supposed to be the prostitute in this event, and he came over to engage in sexual conduct with a lady, ostensibly, while the husband watched. Surprise. That's not what it was. It was a sting, and you got stung on your gang rear end. When we arrested him, he was armed with a handgun in his waistband. Newsflash, he's a convicted felon. He's not supposed to have firearms, but he had one. He has a history of violent and nonviolent past. Now, folks, our goal is to try to send him to prison for carrying a concealed firearm by a convicted felon. Not only the charges that he has in front of him. So today, we have asked our colleagues who would like to present. Our police chief said, hey, Sheriff, you got it. But we do have the opportunity to hear from Jody Domain. She's from One More Child. And there's representatives that were at the operation from Heartland for Children, Children's Home Society, DCF, Amanda Wilson. She said she's not going to talk. Saleha Freedom was with us, and Dr. Marianne Thomas from My Name, My Voice. So we'll start with Dr. Thomas, and then next Jody Domain will speak.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Marianne Thomas, and I am with the organization My Name, My Voice. And just first, thank you to the sheriff for inviting me back again to do this operation, along with the fine men and women who conducted it. It is so important that we are able to do this, that in that first instant that a victim is identified, that we are able to immediately stand alongside that victim and sit with them through questioning, help them along their path of talking to police and being able to walk out of that life. Thank you to all of the PDs that also showed up and lended a hand. I worked with some amazing people this time. I have to say these operations are better every time. I'm proud to be a part of it. I saw people who are detectives or officers for different organizations come and ask me about victims from previous operations and how they are doing. I saw people come in this operation and come and say, I see something, I feel something is off here. Can you come check it out? And I was able to immediately go and talk to that person and see if they needed help. And so I'm so proud to be here. And if you're someone who I met on this operation and you were under arrest and you were there to sell yourself, I just want to remind you something you heard me say that night. You don't have to do this. You can do something different. I am standing here saying it can be done. And so please, you are given a packet of paper with different phone numbers. Call one of them. If you don't get the answer you need, call the next one. But please make those calls. And if you're someone who was arrested for purchasing a person, that's not okay. Okay, we don't buy people. That's not okay. And so I'm sorry we had to meet like this, but I'm really glad that we do this because I really hope you have learned a lesson here. Thank you so much.
Okay, Jody?
Thank you, Sheriff Judd. My name is Jody Domingue. I'm the Executive Director of Anti-Trafficking at One More Child. One More Child is a nonprofit organization that served over 320,000 children and families last year by coming alongside foster children, hungry children, struggling families, single moms, and trafficked children and adults. We've worked these human trafficking operations with the Polk County Sheriff's Office and the various agencies represented here today, and every single time we are able to identify several potential victims of human trafficking. But what we also know is that everyone that walks through those doors to be purchased, after we sit down and we hear their stories, they have had histories every single time of being abused and being sexually exploited. So our teams, made up of advocates, peer mentors, and mental health counselors, are able to come alongside of them immediately to offer life-changing services that begin the restoration process immediately. So we're going to ask this. If you have children in your life, because we know now more than ever, children and young adults are susceptible for being trafficked and sexually exploited, please be involved in their lives. Find out who their friend groups are and what their friend groups are doing. Find out what they're doing on the internet. Check out their social media apps, monitor them, find out what websites they're frequenting. And please learn the signs to identify human trafficking and grooming. And once you identify it, please intervene by reaching out to the Polk County Sheriff's Office and your local law enforcement agency, and if it's a child, DCF, Department of Children and Families. If you would like more information on how to identify the signs of grooming and human trafficking or how to intervene, please contact us at onemorechild.org. I just want to thank Sheriff Judd and the Polk County Sheriff deputies, the various agencies represented here today. As Dr. Marianne Thomas said, and we echo, it is of excellence, and how they are treating potential victims and those that are exploited is just bar none. They are now very, very advantageous about getting these services implemented immediately. So thank you all for your time, and thank you for your service.
Once again, our goal is to rescue these young ladies, and the Johns need to know we're going to have other operations, and we're going to lock you up. And there's a mandatory $5,000 fine that goes with a conviction. And we are going to go after people who go after these ladies who have been trafficked, these prostitutes, these victims, all whatever status they claim in life, we're going to go after them. And the reason we're going to go after the Johns is because we know the vast majority of these ladies that aren't cooperating are in fact victims, and we're not going to give up on these ladies who we believe are victims either. So with that, any questions? Okay. I have another topic here that I think will be of interest to everyone. There was apparently a group of Democrat House members, Representative Driscoll from District 67, Christopher Benjamin from District 107, and they met and attacked Governor DeSantis about his plan to use the Florida National Guard to help out in the Florida prison systems. I applaud the Secretary of DOC, a friend of mine who grew up in the system, who is simply the very best. I can tell you that Ricky Dixon, the Secretary of DOC, was brilliant in his efforts to obtain resources, and who better than our Florida National Guard, who is trained to protect us and keep us safe and to operate in a time of emergencies. As you know, whether you're trying to hire veterinarians or doctors or nurses or truck drivers or law enforcement officers or corrections officers, right now it's very difficult in the state of Florida. There are over 5,800 openings at the Department of Corrections. I can tell you clearly and unequivocally, neither the Secretary Dixon, or me, or the governor will allow violent criminals to be released from the prison system to prey on the people of the state of Florida and our tourists that visit. Our system is a forgiving criminal justice system for those that make mistakes. Statistically, of every 100 people that are arrested this year, only 4 will go to the Florida prison system for any period of time. And the reason that they go at all is because they're dangerous, they're violent, or they've got a huge history of violating the law and victimizing people. So while these representatives threw bombs and allegations, they had no solutions. They could have stood up today and said, gosh, let's help the Department of Corrections. Please send your loved ones to be corrections officers. It's a tough job. But you know what? The people who work in the Department of Corrections every day are the ones who make it safe for us in Florida. Our crime rate's low, and it's going to continue to be low. But if they suggest for one moment that letting people out of prison is a solution, they're barking up the wrong tree. If they want a Portland, Oregon, or a Seattle, Washington, or a Washington, D.C., or a Chicago, or a New Orleans, or a Detroit, or a San Francisco, or a Los Angeles, move there and run for public office. But understand one thing, in the state of Florida, people are safe, we're thriving, people love to come here on vacation, people are moving here by the droves because it's a safe community and a great state. I applaud once again our Secretary Ricky Dixon and all the hardworking men and women that work so hard every day in this very difficult job. So unlike Representative Driscoll and all that group, I want to encourage you to send your loved ones to apply to work at the Department of Corrections. It's noble. The governor, in fact, just authorized and the legislature approved a huge pay raise for the Department of Corrections, and they're hiring people as we speak and having great success. But they've got to fill in the gaps in the meantime. So Secretary Dixon, it is really impressive that you thought of this and that the governor approved it. And the reality of it is these folks are going to be working in support positions for the experts that are going to be hands-on with the inmates. Shame on you for standing up and throwing rocks and throwing bombs without solutions. Shame on you. You're not part of the solution. You become part of the problem when you do that. It's no time for politics. We don't mix politics with public safety. We keep the community safe. We don't care how you're registered or if you're registered, but people are going to be safe in this state. And I just apologize. I just really appreciate the Department of Corrections for the work that they do. Are there any questions about that? Okay. If that circumstance needs more bad-mouthing later on, y'all just let me know. I'll be here all day long. Take care.